good. Keep it loaded, keep it loaded, keep it loaded, keep it loaded. Very nice, I'm looking at the camera. Very nice, good, good, good. Preloaders, V.I.Preloaders. Welcome back, guys. Always a pleasure to have you guys here with me, and you know this by now, or at least you should. How could you not by now, right? For those of you that are here for the first time, my name's Robert. Name of this channel is Be the Boss of Your Motorcycle. And that's what we do out here, right? My goal is to help you be the boss of your motorcycle. And all that means, guys, is I want you to be in full control of your motorcycle between 1 and 10 miles per hour. That's the speed range where most people are extremely, extremely intimidated by their motorcycles. That's why you see people putting their feet out when they're stopping and keeping their feet out when they start until they feel more comfortable, meaning get to a speed where the motorcycle takes over and then they pick up their feet. That's not how you're supposed to ride a motorcycle. That's why we focus on that here, because we want to be safer, we want to have confidence, and we want to focus on that no matter what kind of motorcycle we ride. Also on this channel, I do practice sessions right out here in this parking lot in Pooler, Georgia. I do private lessons here as well. I also travel within reason. And if that's something that you guys are interested in, go to my website and click on where it says practice information or private lessons, get you squared away. Okay, so guys, this is a video that I've long been anticipating doing, and I know a few of you have been waiting a long time for me to do it. So this is Scarlet. Scarlet is my 2015 Honda CB 1000R. And for those of you that are not new to the channel, you already know that my preferred motorcycle to ride is a touring motorcycle. Specifically, I have a 2019 CVO Street Glide. I have a 2021 Limited CVO. And I also have a 2019 Road King Special. So those are the motorcycles I primarily ride. As a motor officer and a motor lieutenant, I rode a Road King. I learned how to ride a motorcycle on a Road King. So these are the types of motorcycles that I like the most. And I did a separate video on why I prefer those type of motorcycles over this type. However, what I go over on this channel as far as slow speed maneuvers, I say it all the time. The techniques are relevant no matter what kind of motorcycle you ride, no matter what type. And that includes sport bikes, that includes adventure bikes, that includes any type of motorcycle, DCTs, right? There's a slight difference with the DCT because you don't have a friction zone, but you got the throttle and the rear brake. You have to make the same techniques work, right? You got to be able to do the same things we do out here on that kind of motorcycle as well. Of course, I think it's easier when you have a friction zone. Actually, I know it's easier, but I know that we're all visual creatures, and I can tell you till I'm blue in the face that the technique on this type of motorcycle is the same as on a touring motorcycle. And some of you will hear me, but some of you will be like, I need to see it first. The same way when we're out in the practice session, somebody will tell me, can you do what you just did on my motorcycle? Because if I see you do it on my motorcycle, that'll help me. And that's true. Remember, guys, I say all the time that we're dealing with your mind here, right? That's the biggest obstacle when you get on your motorcycle, your mind. If you're feeling scared or intimidation, that's all mental, right? But the more we practice, the more we understand how these things work, that's what's going to help us elevate ourselves as motorcycle riders. And being able to do these slow speed maneuvers, yeah, some people say this is advanced, but it's not. This is the basics. This is what everybody should know how to do before they even think about getting on a motorcycle. All right, so speaking of motorcycle and the sport bike, one of the biggest differences about this motorcycle, of course, it's the size, it's the weight. I tell you guys all the time, the weight doesn't matter. The steering radius on this motorcycle is not going to turn as far as my touring motorcycles, but this one will still turn nicely. Of course, this one will lean more, right? Again, we don't do anything extreme out here. Just because this motorcycle could lean so far that my knees could be dragging the ground doesn't mean that it's necessary, right? That's extreme. So you're not going to see that out here today. But what you are going to see is me take this motorcycle through all of my exercises. That's 1 through 9 plus the warm-up and plus the bonus, the maze, right? And the other thing about this motorcycle is we know the 5 steps. The 5 steps that we follow every time we get on the motorcycle before we move it. Step number 1, always step number 1, make sure the motorcycle is in first gear. Applicable. Step number 2, cover the rear brake. Applicable. Step number 3, preload and keep it loaded. Not so much applicable on this motorcycle. I'll explain in a second. Step number 4, slowly release the clutch into the friction zone. Applicable. And step number 5, as soon as this motorcycle starts to move, that right foot comes off the ground. As soon. Now, step number 3, preload and keep it loaded. I said maybe. The idle on this particular motorcycle is so high that I can actually just open up the clutch and this motorcycle will go between 8 and 9 miles per hour. You can see right here, I don't have my hand on the clutch and I'm just letting the motorcycle pull me through the parking lot, and it's steady too. Like, it's not, if I do that with my Harley, the motorcycle, first of all, it's not going to be going 9 miles per hour, but secondly, it's going to be chugging too. And that chugging feeling where it feels like it's going gluck, 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 I definitely don't want to feel that when I'm in the middle of a turn, right? Because if it stalls, which it can and will do, it's going to fall, especially if you're in a lean. This motorcycle, one-handed, I can make U-turns and stuff. That idle is high enough. And there are some people that modify the idle on their touring motorcycles so they can do the same thing. But if your motorcycle is the way you bought it, speaking about a Harley Davidson or an Indian from the factory, yeah, most likely you can't just open up the clutch and not be in the friction zone and think everything's going to be all right. You have to stay in the friction zone. So with this motorcycle, I can actually open up the clutch all the way, right? And let it pull me through a turn and use the rear brake a little bit to slow me down, because sometimes I don't want to be going 9 miles per hour, depending on what I'm doing. I want to be going less. Or I can just manipulate the friction zone, going in and out of the friction zone. Now, I don't like to do that only because I still don't trust this. Again, this motorcycle is new to me. I still don't trust that throttle is going to stay steady so that I don't have to worry about it. So I'll still probably be in the friction zone and giving it a little bit, because that makes me feel better. That's the way I'm accustomed to riding. And as far as I'm concerned, that's the safest way to do it. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to start out with the warm-up exercise and go from there. All right, let's do it. All right, guys, so scratch that. And what I'm referring to is when I said step number 3, maybe on this motorcycle, that is not the case. When you start to move this motorcycle, yeah, you still have to follow the first 5 steps. Because if I just open up this clutch slowly, it's going to stall. So you still have to preload and keep it loaded. Now, once the motorcycle is moving, now I can open the clutch all the way and I don't have to rely on the friction zone. It can just pull me through. All right. All right. Let's do it. Short stops and starts. This is the warm-up exercise. Notice you only see the left foot down because I'm covering the rear brake, right? That's step number 2. I'm going to preload. Slowly release the clutch as soon as it starts to move. Foot up. To the next cone. I stay in the throttle slightly as I'm coming to a stop. That's going to ensure that this motorcycle stays true. Sometimes you need to do that and sometimes you don't, because sometimes it works out balance-wise. Reload, keep it loaded. Comes up. And notice you see my handlebars going like this. We're going to be doing exercise number 2, and I say all the time, when you're doing the slow ride, you shouldn't be able to go in a straight line. You should have to do this. That shows that you're going slow, you're working it out, giving power to the rear wheel. Reload. Keep it loaded. Rear brake, rear brake, rear brake. Power, 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 stop. Notice that time, nice and easy. You also don't see my front suspension compressing a lot. We don't do anything herky-jerky, nice and easy. One more time. Foot up. Keeping it loaded, keeping it loaded. It's loaded. Boom. Head and eye, straight ahead the whole time. I lied, one more time. I'm on the rear brake, I'm on the rear brake. Throttle, boom. All right, good stuff. All right, let's move on to exercise number 1. That's stops and starts, but not short stops and starts. All right, let's do it. All right, so I always have everyone stop right here because, once again, we're practicing stopping nice and smooth, left foot down, little friction zone if you need it, if you feel like, uh-oh. All right, let's do it. And I always tell people, but this is not emergency braking. You don't have to speed, but I want you to get up to second gear and then downshift, front brake you're stopping with, and then you transition to the rear brake right before the stop. Do it. Downshift, front brake, front brake, front brake, front brake. Transition, rear brake. I went into the friction zone just a tiny bit at the end because I felt a little bit of an O, but that was it. Then when it's time to take off, same thing we were just doing over there, but now it's not going to be a short one, but the same rules apply. I'm going to make sure I'm in first gear, cover the rear brake, preload, keep it loaded, slowly release the clutch, and as soon as my motorcycle starts to move, pick up my foot. Nice and easy. All right, guys, so I always have everyone start from here, and they wait here, and then I wave them forward, and then they come forward. And then I have them stop up here. And I do that because, once again, we're practicing coming to a smooth stop. Repetition equals retention, guys. And I do recognize that there are people that have been following my channel from its inception. So you're hearing the same things over and over with slight differences. That's the way it's going to be anyway, because this is not rocket science. I want you guys to remember that. So it's usually the same things you're going to hear all the time. Throttle, clutch, rear brake, head and eyes. The only thing you're hearing new on this channel that you haven't heard before is preload and keep it loaded, trust and believe, right? Stuff like that. All of that stuff is relevant. All right, slow ride, exercise number 2. Just like we were doing in the warm-up and exercise number 1, that's how we're starting. Keep it loaded, head and eyes straight ahead. Shouldn't be able to stay in a straight line. If I need power, I'm keeping it loaded, so. All right, nice and easy. All right, guys, so usually when I do exercise number 3, which is trust and believe, I have them come from this direction because I'm already preparing them from exercise number 4. I want them to make a turn, straighten out, and then stop. Remember, don't stop with the handlebars turn. That's why people drop their motorcycles. Now I can get away with it more on this motorcycle because it's lighter. So if it starts to fall, it also sits me up higher. So yeah, I can stop it much easier. And putting my foot down on this motorcycle is going to be more forgiving because A, it's lighter. B, if my foot travels back, I got no saddlebag to catch my heel and break my ankle. All right. Anyway, trust and believe, guys. I can't emphasize how important this exercise is. I say it all the time. All of these exercises build on one another. And as we progress into the exercises, you never are not doing the first 3 things that we do out here. All right, so what are the steps? Make sure I'm in first gear. Cover the rear brake. I preload my throttle, keep it loaded. Now I'm gonna put my clutch right before the friction zone. All right, there it is for me. Head and eyes straight ahead. I'm gonna pick up my left foot. As soon as I feel the motorcycle start to move, I'm just going to go into the friction zone, and then I'm going to come to a controlled stop. We got to be controlled and be flying out. Controlled stop. Let's do it again. Oh man, this backs up so much easier. First gear. I know I'm in first gear, but that's how you build muscle memory. Do it every time. Do these first 5 steps every time. Make sure it's in first gear. Cover the rear brake. Reload. Keep it loaded. Clutch right before the sweet spot. Pick up your foot. See, that time it went to the right. Come to a smooth stop. Butter, baby. All right, let's go to everybody's favorite. Right turns, left turns from a stop. Exercise number 4. All right, now guys, look at this. I'm approaching exercise number 4. Boom. That's exercise number 1 and exercise number 2. This is what I'm talking about. You can't get away from it. All right, so guys, I can't overstate this. This exercise, as far as I'm concerned, this is where bosses are created. So when we do the warm-up exercise, the reason I make those cones close together for you to do starts and stops is because I want you to be comfortable going that slow and stopping. Slow, stop. And what people have a tendency to do is as soon as they start to go, they go. And the reason they want to go fast is because they know that we're picking up our foot as soon as the motorcycle starts to move. So they can't do any duck walking. So the next step to make them feel comfortable is to let the motorcycle take care of the balance by going fast. But clearly, you can't do that here. And that's what I mean when I say this exercise has the highest failure rate. And it's because of too much speed. So That's why I say get comfortable with the other stuff, and it's going to help you out here. All right, now this has 8 steps. Step number 1, what's always step number 1? Make sure the motorcycle's in first gear. Step number 2, we're going to cover the rear brake. Step number 3, we're going to preload the throttle and keep it loaded. Step number 4, clutch right before the friction zone. Step number 5, head and eyes. Head and eyes. Step number 6, we're going to slowly release the clutch into the friction zone. Step number 7, as soon as this motorcycle starts to move, we're going to pick up our foot that's still on the ground, which is the left foot. And in step number 8, you're just going to turn the handlebars. Now remember, trust and believe. That's why we did that before we came here. If you trust and believe that as long as you have sufficient power going to the rear wheel, everything's going to be okay, then once you pick your foot up, don't worry about anything else. If you feel any you feel a motorcycle going like this, opening up the clutch will make it do that, right? Open up the clutch, it's going to make it do that. Right? And when I say open up the clutch, I don't mean open it all the way, because then that's going to give you too much speed. You're going to ride out of the exercise. Open it up just to give power to the rear wheel. If there's already power to the rear wheel, which there should be, maybe you need a little bit more. Then that means you open it up a little bit more. Using the rear brake at the same time, right? When I pull out of this spot, I'm on my rear brake already, right? I want to make sure when I start out, I'm smooth and in control. Remember, the rear brake gives you control of your motorcycle, or better control, I'll say. There's no doubt about that, it does. Right? All right, so, and the other thing is, we're not going to lean the motorcycle here. That's why you see these big cones I put here, because I kept telling people, don't lean. I don't want your saddlebags or any part of your motorcycle going over the cones, because I don't use high cones. And people still want to introduce the lean because they're introducing speed. Clearly, if you're going 1 to 2 miles per hour, 3 miles per hour, you're not going to lean the motorcycle. Every other exercise out here, I'm probably between 6 to 10 miles per hour. This motorcycle, I'm between 1 and 3 miles per hour, right? Clearly, I can't lean, and I don't want you to lean either. And this exercise is also setting you up for, what if this was a gravel road? I get questions all the time about, how do I do this? How do I ride on a gravel road? I tell you how you ride on the gravel road. Slow, controlled, and straight up. Is it a good idea to lean your motorcycle on a gravel road while making a turn? No, that's a rhetorical question. How about putting your feet down with a heavy motorcycle on gravel? Is that a good idea while you're moving? Right. So we really don't want to do that. And even if you're coming to a stop, if you're one of these people that comes to a stop and when you're grabbing the front brake and then your feet go down like this, try that on the gravel road. See how that works out for you. That's why we come to a smooth, controlled stop. So when you put your foot down, you put it down like that. So if you do have to put your foot down on a gravel road, on a sandy area of the road, wet leaves, anything like that, you're putting your foot down so gently, shouldn't be a problem. You put your foot down like this, yeah, it's going to be a problem. All right. First gear, cover the rear brake, preload, keep it loaded, clutch right before the sweet spot, head and eyes, look where I want to go. I'm going to slowly release the clutch. As soon as it starts to move, pick up my foot, turn the handlebars, straight up. You want to be in the middle of the lane, that's where I am, right here in the middle. Here we go again, exercise number 1. Smooth stop. I feel I'm embarrassed to put the signal light on since they're incandescent bulbs, but I'm not changing it. All right, right turn. Because as soon as I finish with this motorcycle, I'm just going to sell it, guys. I only bought it so I could do this for you guys. First gear, cover the rear brake, preload, keep it loaded. And you see I'm saying all of this stuff fast because the steps just disappear once it becomes your muscle memory. You just do it and it all goes together. Straight up. Now normally I have people go through first and then stop. I skipped that, so let's do that. I forgot I got to cancel these signal lights, otherwise they'll just keep going forever. I'm keeping it loaded, head and eyes, a little bit of rear brake, keeping it loaded, keeping the handlebar fully turned on this bike. Doesn't matter. As long as I got power, I'm good. Smooth stop. Lastly, I'm gonna make the U-turn, and not the U-turn, I'm sorry. Make the left turn, come to a stop. Straight up. Straighten out, stop. Make sure you straighten out, don't stop with the handlebars turn. Straighten out, a little bit of throttle, make sure I'm true. Right turn. And I'm always listening to my throttle. Right there, I heard it go up a little high, brought it back down. So you're listening for it to be too high and too low. All right, let's move on to exercise number 5, single serpentine. Now guys, this is one of these exercises. This exercise number 5 is single serpentine, where I don't need the rear brake. I don't even need the throttle, because the idle on this motorcycle is high enough where I can go through here, I can go out nice and wide, and I'm fine. Right now my speed is 7 miles per hour. Now it's 8. Head and eye straight ahead. Dip, dive, swing, sway the motorcycle. Even the U-turn. No throttle necessary. The speed is perfect for this exercise, so don't even need the brake. But I'm covering it. All right, guys, exercise number 6, the infamous U-turn. So when I practice by myself, I don't use 3 parking spaces. And because I don't need 3 parking spaces, even when I have 27 feet in a practice session, I use the 18-foot portion of the box that I set up. Now again, that's me. I tell you guys all the time, an 18-foot or less U-turn is not necessary. But if it's something you aspire to do, that's a different story. Okay, so if I don't practice normally in an 18-foot box on my Harley, I'm damn sure not going to do it on this bike, because this bike is going to turn even tighter. It leans more and all that good stuff. All right, let's do it. Same rules apply. Good speed, a little bit of rear brake, head and eyes, handlebars. Nothing excessive, right? Nothing excessive at all. Just like there's nothing excessive when you're on a touring motorcycle. You don't have to lean all the way in 27 feet. 18 feet, yeah, you do. All right, now we're doing it from a stop. Preload, head and eyes. And last, we're gonna stop, make the U-turn and stop. Now remember, when you stop, straight up, right? You shouldn't be stopping, moving to the side. You shouldn't be always in control. Let's do it to the right. 8 miles per hour, that's good. Head and eyes. Looking at my camera. Butter, baby. Come to a stop. Reload. And lastly, we're going to do it coming to a stop. We're going to stop and then stop. In control all the time. Smooth stop. Reload. Head and eyes. Bing! That's how your foot goes down. Exercise number 7, figure 8. Next. All right, guys. Exercise number 8, figure 8. Again, 18-foot box, and just the space of the parking, just the space allotted by 4 parking spaces. Right. So we're not doing the extra 6 feet that I normally do. Same rules, head and eyes. Keep it loaded. Lean the motorcycle. Don't have to lean it a lot. Look at the exit, Rob. All right, guys, same thing. Coming out wide, just like a figure 8. Head and eyes. Look at the next gate came from. Head and eyes. Transition. Keep it loaded. Head and eyes. Look at the gate that came from. Transition. Head and eyes. Keep it loaded. Look at the gate that came from. Transition. Keeping it loaded. A little bit of rear brake when I need it. Coming back, I'm gonna go straight for the gate. Just means I gotta lean more. That's all. So far, you guys hearing anything different? Because I'm on a different kind of motorcycle? Bingo! That's exercise number 8, offset double serpentine. All right, guys, and lastly, Abominable Snowman. So I didn't do the first 2 circles because what's the point? So I have here 22 and 18 feet. Same rules apply. Hug these 2 cones. Commit. Commit. Keep it loaded. A little bit of rear brake when you need it. Watch that toe, make sure it's not down. I had to get used to that. And of course, if we do it one way, we got to do it the other way. Commit to those first 2 cones. Hold it, head and eyes, hold it. Look where you want to go. Come over here. Wheel placement, commit, hold it. Keeping it loaded. And that's it, guys. All right, let's do the maze. Bonus time, baby. All right, guys, the maze. If you're coming in on this side, you're making 2 lefts and 1 right. Other side, 2 rights and 1 left. Same rules. Let's do it the other way. Head and eyes. Transition, head and eyes. Head and eyes. Bingo. All right, guys, that's 1 through 9 and the maze. All right, so let's do them all back to back, all right? And give you guys a different perspective. Let's do it. All right, guys, so I hope that this helped some of you guys out at least. Yes, the rules don't change. You hear me say it all the time. And I said in the beginning of this video, all the different kind of motorcycles that these skills pertain to, and it's all of them. So if anyone says, hey, but how about, this is a CB 1000R, how about a CBR 1000, where it has different kind of handlebars, got a little fairing? it still doesn't change, right? If the handlebars don't turn as much, it just means you have to lean a little bit more. But what we do out here, all you need is a little bit more lean. Nothing's extreme out here, remember that. And the same applies out there in the real world. All right, guys? All right, listen, if you like this video or any of the videos that I put out, please hit the subscribe button. It definitely helps me out. It's the way that you show support to me. It's one of the ways, at least. And hit the notification bell, switch it to all so that you don't miss any videos that I put out. Also hit that like button and share these videos, guys. This is the main reason why Preloader Nation is growing so much. It's because you guys see something and you go, wow, that's good. I want to share that, and you share it. So please continue to do that. All right, guys. Spend more time being thankful for the things that you have and less time complaining about the things that you don't. I don't care what kind of motorcycle you guys ride. I don't care how long you ride. I don't care how many miles you ride. If you're not out here practicing and honing these skills, you're at the same level as a brand new motorcycle rider, duck walking at the MSF course, right? Years after you've passed that course. All right, so just keep that in mind. I want you to practice, practice, practice. Understand how important this is, how cool it is too, and how much more you're going to enjoy riding your motorcycle when you actually know what you're doing on it. Seat time doesn't equal practice time, guys. And if you have time to ride, you have time to practice. Until next time, guys.